it's Julia. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my top 10 favorite eyeshadow palettes. So you guys know, eyeshadow palettes are my total weakness. I buy way too many, and these ones are just the top of the top, the best of the best in my collection. Either way, I find eyeshadow palettes to be an investment. I don't mind spending a little bit more money on a more high-end one because I find them to just be a lot better quality when you're getting them from a high-end brand. So in this video, I'm just going to go through my top 10 favorites in my collection, starting with number 1. Number 1 for me is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. This is the most affordable palette, I think, in this video. So obviously, Morphe is a very affordable brand. This one you get 35 shades for $38, I believe, so it's a little bit over $1 a pan. However, these are really big pans. You do get a ton of product. If you want to see just how much value you're getting, I recommend watching the Beauty News Makeup Breakup of the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. They do detail how much you're getting in this palette. Besides the amount of product you're actually getting, this is a very, very good formula. Probably the best shadows I have from Morphe. They're very pigmented and blendable, and the mattes are so creamy. It's kind of a hard feat to create good, affordable matte shades, so I'm very impressed with the fact that the mattes are spectacular and even more impressive than the shimmer shades, which are also very good. So I'm not sure if this is limited edition or if Morphe made it permanent or not, so I'm not really sure. I would definitely recommend picking one up if you have the chance. It's just such a good palette. The best palette that I have from Morphe and the best palette in my collection. I'm going to go through some of my favorite shades in here as well. So Silk Cream right here is my favorite transition shade, just such a beautiful shade. Beam here is my favorite brow bone and inner corner highlight. I really love this like fiery kind of reddish orange shade here called Hunts. It kind of looks like ketchup. These 3 shimmer shades here are absolutely stunning. This one's called Obsessed, SBN, and the shade Hillster. So they're really, really gorgeous shimmery shades if you're wanting to do kind of like a gradient shimmer on your cut crease. I love Buns here for more of like a mauvey pink transition shade. And then these 2 browns here are my absolute favorite matte browns in my entire collection. So this one is called Mocha, and then this one's called Chip. Chip is a little bit darker, Mocha is absolutely stunning. So besides being a great value, this is absolutely my favorite palette. I love this palette so much. So my next favorite is pretty much the palette of 2016. This was everyone's favorite, and it is the Anasazi Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance. For a lot of people, this is their ride or die palette, and I'll admit it was kind of a hard decision to pick between the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette and the Anasazi Modern Renaissance to put in my ride or die video. I did settle on the Morphe Jaclyn Hill because there's just so many colors in that one, and I'm blown away by the quality. However, this is a really close second. So here are the colors. I'm sure you've seen this palette before. Anasazi shadows in general are just very, very creamy and pigmented, and this is one of the few palettes I have that just blends itself. It's really, really easy to blend. They're very, very soft pressed shadows, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for a beginner because it can kind of be hard to manage because they're so pigmented. I just adore this palette. I think the colors are stunning for pretty much all year round. I love these berry tone shades for fall, and honestly, this is just everyone's favorite for a reason. The color rate is just so stunning. Every single time I try this again, I just remember how much I love it. I go through periods where I'm kind of forcing myself to use other palettes. I feel like if I didn't force myself to use a different palette every single day, I would pretty much just be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills and the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. However, I do go through periods where I just don't really use this, and then I use it again and just remember how much I love this. And in terms of favorite shades in here, Golden Ochre creates just a beautiful halo of warmth around the eye, so that's a beautiful transition shade. 2 shimmers here are really gorgeous and soft, Vermeer and Primavera. Absolutely beautiful if you're doing like a semi-cut crease. Red Ochre is just like a stunning, warm, rusty red shade, so beautiful. I love Buon Fresco for like a more pinky transition shade. Love Letter and Venetian Red are pretty much the same color, however Venetian Red has a little bit more shimmer in it. So I did a look using Buon Fresco, Love Letter, Venetian Red, and Vermeer that I posted on my Instagram. I'm just going to insert a picture here. I'm so proud of that look. I absolutely love that day. Yeah, this is basically my second favorite palette. I'm not actually going in order in this video. I'm just kind of listing things that I love. However, this is definitely my second favorite, and the Morphe Jaclyn Hill is my first favorite. Overall, really beautiful palette. You get 14 shades in here, and it is $45, I believe. Really stunning. I absolutely love this, and I'm definitely going to be reaching for it more often during fall. Kind of going on in the same vein of colors, I'm going to reach next for the Marc Jacobs Scandalous palette. So this is another favorite of mine. It's actually a new release. I got it this summer in New York City. Marc Jacobs came out with a whole new line of iconic eyeshadow palettes, and this one is the shade Scandalous. So the colors are very similar to Modern Renaissance, as you can see. You get a lot of really nice neutrals, and then you have this beautiful pop of like cranberry red. However, in my opinion, the formula of these, it's less powdery, and there's a lot more color payoff. So they're still super pigmented and blendable, but they're a lot less like powdery. When you dip your brush, and you're not going to get as much hiccup as you do in the Modern Renaissance. Still, I love both formulas. I find that this one just kind of edges out the Modern Renaissance a little bit more. However, this is 7 shades, and the Modern Renaissance is 14. The Modern Renaissance is like 42, and this is like $50. So this is a lot more expensive. Overall though, I'd say that this is my favorite eyeshadow formula. I do have another one of these iconic palettes in the shades Editorial. It's like a more green toned palette. I just use this one a lot more because these colors really speak to me. Another thing I love about this is that there's enough neutrals in here to make a really nice neutral eye look. If you just like put your hand over this red shade, it looks like a really nice neutral natural palette, but you still get that beautiful pop of color. So in terms of favorites, I absolutely love these two shimmer shades here. Really gorgeous for like, again, a semi-cut crease or a full cut crease. This brown here is probably one of the best matte browns I've ever used in my life. And then this like red cranberry shimmer shade. Honestly, I just love all of these colors. So yeah, this is a very good palette. These are very expensive, but honestly, I would say that they're worth the splurge because they're just such a beautiful formula. So my next favorite is probably my like Ride or Die neutral palette. This is the Laura Lee Violet Voss palette. These are the shades in here. As you can see, it's pretty much neutrals galore. You have a lot of beautiful like transition shades and some neutral browns as well. I just think Laura did a really good job picking out the colors in here. There's so many different neutral browns in here, but you do have a lot of really fun pops of color. For example, you have these like gorgeous foiled glitter shades that you can use on cut creases, and then you have this really nice green tone shade here, super pigmented, and then this one is like a really unique duochrome. I don't have any kind of shade like that in my collection. The mattes in here are so pigmented, almost to a point of being too pigmented. Like I had the problem with the Lorac Pro palettes. I had to get rid of those because they're so pigmented, almost to a point of like it's hard to blend them out. These ones, it's really easy to blend them out though. I do love Laura Lee. I watched Laura Lee's videos, and I love that she kind of put Violet Voss on the map with this palette. Now I feel like Violet Voss is more of like a YouTube name. So yeah, I absolutely love this palette. I think Laura Lee did a really great job picking out the colors. I'm not going to be buying the Cat's Pajamas palette from her line. Absolutely love this palette. It's probably one of the best YouTuber collaborations that I picked up. So my favorite shades in here, I really love the shade Biddy. It's a really nice pressed glitter shadow. It's not even like a shimmer shade, it's just like pure glitter. It's really easy to get onto the eye as well. Tickled Pink is kind of the same formula, very beautiful. Other favorite in here is this one called Alabama. It's a really nice, very warm toned neutral brown. Overall, I love this palette. There's a lot of different shades in here. I like to use this for my Instagram looks. And yeah, I really wish that this wasn't limited edition so that everyone could pick this one up. I do believe there are some websites that still sell it, so if I can find it below, I will link it. Yeah, love this palette. So number 5 on my list is one that caused a lot of controversy this summer when it came out. It's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. Yeah, a lot of people really hated this palette, and I get why. It's very powdery. But while it is powdery, it's super pigmented. Like, these are the most pigmented shadows I've ever used in my life. Most pigmented shadows in my collection. It's a really rich color payoff. Honestly, you just need to tap your brush in very lightly. I recommend going in with a very soft brush so you're not disturbing a lot of powder, and you get such an amazing color payoff. If you are using too much, it can be very hard to blend out. That's kind of a consequence of using very pigmented shadows. I haven't really encountered that many issues with it. I've always just gone in with a very light touch, so I don't really have that many problems with this palette. To me, these are just very unique shades. I love the shades that Norvina put in here. It just screams fall to me. Some of my favorite shades, I absolutely love the shade Adorn. It's a really nice foiled coppery shadow. I apply this with my finger. It doesn't really work that well with a brush. U-Wave here is kind of like a yellowish orange shade. Very unique. It's so stunning. All-Star is one that a lot of people have had blending issues with. Honestly, if you just go in with a very small amount, blend it out, and then go back in, if you're tapping in very slowly and very delicately, you won't have that many problems with blending it out. I love this olive green here shade called Destiny. I find that a lot of olive green shadows are a little bit less pigmented and very hard to blend out. This one is very beautiful, very pigmented, and not patchy at all. So I would not recommend this for beginners at all. It can be a little bit difficult to work with, but I'm willing to work with it a little bit more delicately just for the unique shades that it brings to my collection. Prior to buying this palette, I pretty much didn't have any of the shades in here in my collection, so I'm very glad that I bought this. I do love this palette. If you're kind of on the fence about it, I would recommend going to Sephora, swatching it, maybe trying it out on your eyes, and if you don't really like the formula, I'd say pass on it. So my next favorite is another Anasazi palette. However, this one caused a lot less controversy, and everyone pretty much loved this palette unanimously. So here I have the Master Palette by Mario. This was created in collaboration with Mario de Divanovic. He is Kim Kardashian's makeup artist. I'm not sure if I pronounced his last name right. As you can see, very natural, neutral colors. It's amazing for a really understated but very glamorous look. And I really reach for this when I'm not really wanting to do a full eyeshadow look. So I'll take one of these like copper shades here, pat that all over my eye, just blend out the edges, and then kind of throw on a red lip and be done. These are the softest, most creamy shadows that I own in my collection. Subculture is very soft pressed and it's very soft formula. However, Mario is just a lot more creamy and like buttery in that respect. That kind of formula leads to a very pigmented eyeshadow that's still very easy to blend. I also heard a rumor that he's coming out with a Mario Part 2 palette. I really cannot wait for that. This would definitely pick up the Mario Part 2 palette. I also heard that Mario is going to be collaborating with Kim Kardashian on the KKW beauty line. So I really cannot wait to see what he comes out with. I love this palette so much. It's probably one of my favorite limited edition eyeshadow palettes. I kind of feel bad for mentioning it because I know you can't get it anywhere, but yeah, definitely one of my top 10 favorite palettes. So my next favorite is very new to my collection. However, I've used it enough to know that I really love this palette. This is a new release, the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. Pretty much everyone has been doing reviews on it, so I'm not going to talk too much in depth about it. The last video I did was a dupe video where I duped this eyeshadow palette with the e.l.f. Matte for Matte 2. Perfect dupe. It's only $10 $5, so go watch that one. The formula of these is so amazing. I'm very, very happy that Too Faced could create a good palette because I know a lot of their stuff lately has been really subpar. It smells really good, not like an artificial peachy scent, more natural. Yeah, I know it's a lot harder to formulate matte shadows than it is to formulate shimmer shadows. These I find are just such a beautiful matte formula. They are very pigmented, very blendable, better in my opinion than the original Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, and so much better than what's in the Natural Love palette. I don't hate that palette, however this one is just so much better in my opinion. Honestly, this is just the quality you would expect from getting a $45 eyeshadow palette. It's an expensive palette, but I think it's really worth it. The packaging is very reflective, so I'm trying to hold it in a way that's not like blinding you guys. Overall, I just love that they pulled off a really good matte palette. I feel like this is kind of Too Faced's redemption to the makeup world after everyone's been kind of hating on their new releases. Now, again, it's a really stunning color, right? At first glance, I thought it was very similar to the Modern Renaissance. However, there's a lot of shades in here that are just a lot more peachy in tone. So while you could create kind of similar looks, I think this is very unique and beautiful. I also love this kind of packaging. I don't really like super plasticky stuff, and this just feels very nice high-end luxury. I love this little clasp here too. Too Faced really does win on pretty much all the packaging they do, so that's one of the major draws of their products. So next up is the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. I love this palette. I don't normally like the Naked palettes, however this one I find is the exception. This is probably the best Naked formula yet. They're very blendable and creamy, basically what you'd expect from paying $54 for a Naked palette. I just didn't find that the previous ones were up to par with that price tag. This one, however, is really good. There's a lot of mattes in here. That was one of my gripes with the other Naked palettes, was that there's not enough mattes in there to create a full look. This one does have a lot of really nice matte shades in here, some good transition shades in the beginning, so I find it is a lot easier to come up with looks with this palette. Besides that, I really love all the like nice terracotta tones in here. It's not the most versatile in terms of looks it can create. There's pretty much like 2 different looks you could create with this palette. However, I just love these colors. This really doesn't get old for me. It's a really good summer palette, but I think it's good for transitioning into fall as well. So overall, I'm glad I picked this up. I think it's a very nice palette. If you're wanting kind of similar tones, but wanting something a lot more versatile that you can create more looks with, I'd go for the Morphe Jekyll & Hill palette. But overall, this is probably the best Naked palette I've tried, and I really love it. So next up is a pretty expensive palette, and you only get 4 colors. So I kind of feel bad for mentioning this one, because it's from kind of like a luxury brand, but I just love this palette so much. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Eyeshadow Quad in Vintage Vamp. Yeah, Vintage Vamp. So you only get 4 colors in here. It's really, really nice packaging, very luxurious. I just love Charlotte Tilbury. She's one of the only like luxury cruelty-free makeup brands, so I think that's a really good thing. And this eyeshadow palette definitely did not disappoint me. There's only 4 colors in here, so you'd think it'd be kind of hard to create a full look, but I just love this palette. 2 burgundy shades here, great pigmentation. They're not exactly matte, they're kind of satiny, but I find that makes the formula a lot more creamy and blendable. This pink shimmer here reminds me of Anastasia Pink Champagne. That's like one of the cult favorites from Anastasia. And this gold glitter here is why a lot of people don't necessarily like this palette. However, I think it's not really meant to be a like straight up gold shadow. It's meant to be more of like a glitter topper. So as you can see, it's not very opaque in color, whereas the pink one is a lot more, it's like bam, beautiful. I don't know if you can see that, whatever. Yeah, no, the gold one I feel like is meant to be more of like a gold glitter topper. So if you have like a gold shimmer shade down and you want a little bit more glitter on it, you can just go in with this one and it's a lot more like bam in your face. So yeah, this is just very luxurious. I like having this in my collection. I believe this is like around the $50 mark and it's only 4 colors, so kind of expensive, but really, really good. I just love Charlotte Tilbury's stuff. So amazing palette, and I love this. Alright, so number 10 to cap off this video is Natasha Lyonne 5-color eyeshadow palette. This is the palette number 4. So you have the shades Aura, Cool Bronze, Oxide, Cool Plum, and Moonstone. So this is, I think it's $48, I believe? Yeah, for 5 shades. So it's kind of expensive, but then again, Natasha Lyonne's eyeshadows are generally very expensive. You get gigantic pans in here, so these are pretty much the same size that you'd have in like a regular size Natasha Lyonne palette. In my opinion, this is just a really great way to sample out their shadows and see if you like them. Personally, I love them. The shimmer shades are absolutely out of this world. Here, I'm just going to swatch this like kind of red one. You barely have to touch it. You get really good color payoff. And then, like, yeah. The shimmer shades are beautiful. I like using these, again, in Instagram photos if I'm doing a cut crease. Just really do show up on the eyes. You barely need to wet your brush with them. I do find that I like to wet my brush, but that's, again, I do that with pretty much every shimmer shade I use. There's one matte in here. It's a matte brown. This is probably the best matte brown in my entire collection. Very blendable, very pigmented. This just makes me want to buy one of the big Natasha Lyonne palettes. I think I'm going to actually try and save up and buy the star one because that's so stunning. Yeah, I just love using the shimmers in here when I want a really nice, gorgeous lid shade. This is the only palette that I own from Natasha Lyonne, but I do like the lip liners as well. I just ordered the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, so that's coming soon. I have a feeling that that's probably going to make it into my top 10 favorites. I might boot out one of the other palettes in here, but yeah, so right now, these are my top 10 favorite palettes. I might actually do an updated version of this, maybe next year when I have more palettes. But yeah, that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below. Let me know what your favorite eyeshadow palettes are in your collection. And if you made it to the very end of this video, love you. Bye. So this is the Anastasia Modern, oh no, not Modern Renaissance. Thunder. Great. That was such a dumb sentence, wow. Okay. Very nice and soft and beautiful. What? That doesn't make sense.